matters of decorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. This is a particularly noxious brew today. It is the bottom of one of my son's pitchers of cold brew, so there's a whole bunch of coffee particulate in it, some ice, some creamer to make it worthwhile, and some tonic water so that it has volume and it is fizzy and a little tangy. And very inspirational. I like to explore things. You can explore things in books and movies. The problem with exploring things in books and movies is that even if you are handed a map, like say in the works of Tolkien, you are following someone else's explorations. You are only going on those sections of the map that the characters in the book or movie are going through. I can find my way from the Shire to Mount Doom. Well, not Mount Doom. Well, yeah, actually, technically. From the Shire to Mount Doom, or to the mountain with smog under it. But if I wanted to take a divergence from those paths, I would not be able to do that given the works. I can find my way around most of the planets in the Star Wars galaxy. I know where Starbase 1 is in Star Trek, but going outside of those places along those routes in books, movies, I'm a little stuck. In computer games, well, you have games where you're on the rails, but you also have open world games. Now, in a game on the rails, like say BioShock 2, yeah, Rapture is a big, beautiful, amazing area, but you're only going to be following a very set path. You're literally on rails in BioShock 2, as once you hit the train station and go to the next stop, you're done. You can't go back and look around areas that you may have missed. There's a limited amount of that area to explore. In, say, Skyrim or Fallout or even something like Minecraft, there's a huge area, and even though you're directed to go to certain areas, you can stop along the way or diverge or say, the hell with your stupid quests, I'm going to go over there and see what is in that direction. You can explore it a lot better. And you get to role-playing games. I have bought me a lot of real estate in role-playing games. I've walked in Fritz Lieber's Lankmar. I know what Arkham, Massachusetts looks like, or at least a fictionalized version that H.P. Lovecraft wrote, where he condensed a whole bunch of fascinating features into one or two areas. And then those maps exist in Call of Cthulhu, so I've been able to wander around a little bit. The Spinward Marches out of Traveler. Give me a map and some descriptions, and I can deviate. Player characters do. And as a game master, I also have to be able to deviate, because no player character stays on the map. No one just goes to their quest and back. Some people do, but for the vast majority, if you're going to be playing a longer game, a campaign, something that isn't constrained to 2 or 3 hours at a time, people wander. And should. That's how you buy real estate in an intellectual property. That's how you put your footprint on a game world. You go and you explore, and you build stuff, or you break stuff, or you break stuff and then you build stuff. And mostly break stuff, but building stuff can happen. The game I'm running in Discord at the moment, where the people are in St. Louis, I know St. Louis really well, and so I can follow people's wanderings around, especially using Google Maps. I'm running some Dungeons and Dragons games at a shop at the local mall, the Game Chest at Del Amo. They have D&D on Sundays and Tuesdays, and I'm the game master for Tuesdays from 6 to 9, using Adventure League material from Wizards of the Coast, so there is some official league play, still figuring that stuff out. I have a canned adventure that I'm using. It's fairly extensive, and the player characters are going through it carefully a bit at a time. Tonight might be the last night. Um, but it's in the Forgotten Realms. I need to buy a copy of Tales of the Sword Coast, so I've got a better knowledge, because I'm liking what I'm seeing at the Forgotten Realms. I like to explore it, and I'd like to be able to allow other people to explore it. I generated a self-contained game world for the campaign that I ran a couple years ago in Manhattan Beach, that had a fairly extensive map and allowed people to wander around and kick the tires and look at things and explore, and allowed myself to explore it along with them, improving a lot of it. Exploring a game world is a fascinating thing. My most interesting exploration of a game world at the moment, however, is not one I was expecting to ever have to do. From 2000 and late 7, early 2008, until 2015, Victor Gibson, my writing partner, and I say writing partner, really, really good friend and co-brain. Sometimes I can't think well without consulting him. We created a role-playing game called Hot Chicks, the role-playing game. It was not possibly the best name we could have given it, but it was supposed to be kind of a lark and an excuse to put pictures down and numbers next to them, and it turned into something a lot more than that. I was able to explore some fairly deep philosophical issues, personhood, at what point in time does a person stop being a person if they start to replace bits of themselves with machinery? Is an artificial intelligence a person? Could it be? What about clones or homunculi? And natures of cosmology, and really got to stretch my writing chops. There's 200 supplements to Hot Chicks, around, and I stretched different parts of the world. It's a modified version of Earth, under siege by aliens and demons and corporate greed. So I was a third prescient there, and I really got into it, and a number of my fans did too. There are people who read the stuff as it came out and fielded questions, sent me stuff on Facebook, and that also helped firm a bunch of this stuff up, because I had to go places I hadn't thought about. I was like, well, now that I think about it, yeah, that might be the case, which was just amazing to me, that whole process. So, of course, I was planning on, when we wrote the victory system, that was going to have to expand into, because the victory system, it's the rule book for the mechanics for the game, but doesn't have any setting information in it. Setting books were going to have to come out. So one of the things I'd always planned to do was a book called Destiny 2025, which was taking the world of Hot Chicks and advancing it by 10 years, and, well, 7 years by the end of that run, and fleshing things out, letting things be bigger and bolder. There's a lot of time and effort into building that world and fleshing it out, and the people and the events and the vehicles and the technology and all the different factions. Then came December of 2015. I was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm in remission now, thank you. And the treatments, though radical, worked. 7 weeks of intense chemotherapy and radiation, and a lot of painkillers, and I'm going to be recovering from that for a while. They say 5 years from your diagnosis date, so Christmas 2020, I should be able to celebrate being cured. All signs seem good so far. But there's a condition that you pick up. They don't talk too much about it. They certainly won't tell you about it going into it unless you do some research. It's called chemo-brain. It is not a listed diagnosis. You can't point to a symptom and go, oh yeah, this is that structure being affected. No, it's an overall syndrome more than anything else. And it's not just the chemotherapy, although that's part of it. There's nerve damage. There is nerve damage from the chemotherapy and from the radiation, and you're on a monstrous amount of painkillers for a prolonged period of time, and you lose stuff. I can still talk pretty good, and my brain seems to work, but I don't have access to all of my memories. I certainly don't have immediate access to all of my memories. I don't have the grip on my writing talent that I used to. Stuff like this kind of helps. A monstrous amount of caffeine allows me to jump over some of the gaps, but I've lost things, which is partially infuriating because I was used to a level of performance in my head that I can get back to. I'm pretty sure I can get back to it. It's just working at it. I took negative levels, effectively. I got hit by a 3rd edition Ghast or something and caught some negative experience levels, so I'm having to make up the experience all over again. Going to school and taking some classes and things and pushing my brain in areas I don't normally push it, and trying to get back to that routine of creation and inspiration. So I'm running this game on Discord for my patrons. I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. It's a really good game. I need to mention it because it is instrumental in this particular part of exploration. There are over 200 supplements for the Hot Chicks, the role-playing game, and associated material leading up to the Generation of Destiny 2025. There are races and organizations and species. I don't remember them all. I will go back to some of my old books and open them up, and this stuff's pretty interesting. I wish I could meet the guy who wrote it, but I don't think he's around anymore. So as I'm running this game, the people who are supporting me and interested in participating in the game know a lot of my material better than I do. This is not a problem. This is a golden opportunity. I'm letting people teach me about my world again. Because I'm using real world locations, I can go to Google Maps and I can go to a location that I think looks interesting and which may have some significance, and let people ask me about it. Well, is this here? What will I find if I look over here? Is this a factor? Is that a factor? And that opens doors that have been closed. It's not gone, you see. I don't think the information is lost exactly. It hasn't been annihilated. It's been misplaced. I don't have all of the connections I used to. But someone asks me, well, I look in this area. I use this sense. What do I see? It's like I'm doing the same thing. In my head, I have to go to that area. I have to look in that direction. I have to remember. Or, if not remember, be inspired by what has come before. I get to explore my own world, a world I created, as though I've never been there. On the one hand, this is terrifying because where once there was something that was well lit and illuminated, and I knew what was in every shadow and under every brick, now I'm kind of discovering it along with everyone else. I have to be a half step ahead. Or at least I need to be able to convey that I'm half a step ahead. That's part of being a game master, is that people understand you know what is there and they can find it out from you. I'm doing some of this on the fly. I'm doing more than a little bit of this on the fly. I know y'all are watching at the moment, and don't worry, I've got a grip on what's going on. I just am expressing a certain amount of appreciation. This is a exercise that helps. The D&D game. It's Tuesday as I'm doing this, a day late, sorry. And the D&D game tonight. I'm exploring a world that I don't have a lot of information about. I've got a bit and I need to fill stuff in. I need to add flavor and color and sights and sounds. I need to be able to tell people what it smells like in this city on the edge of the largest jungle on the peninsula, and what it's like when they go into the sewers or into the ravine next to the jungle. I need to have that information or be able to make it up really fast. Some of this goes into me before and as I am running this game because I need to be quick. Oh God, you need to be quick. I could run stuff reading straight out of the book. And sometimes you do, especially when time is an issue. But then I'm not immersing someone. And immersing someone means filling their character's senses. That set of numbers on that sheet of paper in front of that player, without the game master's input, that character is blind, deaf, dumb, insensate. It can't perceive. It's sitting alone in darkness until the universe is explained to the player, until what is happening to the character is expressed. The better I can do that, the more alive that character can become. A lot of that life depends on the player and what the player infuses into that character, its inspirations, its motivations, its decisions, its actions. But the world that that character exists in, that's my job. It's not a small job, it's fun. But you gotta be fast. I gotta be fast. Not everyone has to be. There are many different styles of game mastering as there are game masters. And I have played in many different games and enjoyed most of them. But here's where I get to infuse my style and my inspiration and my ability to improvise, and that builds this. When I do this in a world that I have previously built, I'm not just building things in my head as people are asking me. I'm rewiring myself. I'm rebuilding all the connections in my head. I'm finding things that I thought about but never wrote down. Images that I pictured but never drew. It is not going to come out of my head the way it originally was. And that's okay. There is a version in some parallel universe where I never got sick of what I generated without having gone through this process. And I'm a little sad for that version never existing in this universe. That I can't reach back to exactly what it was I was going to produce and put it in front of me. On the other hand, I'm going to write Destiny 2025. I'm working on it in the background now, bits and pieces as it comes. I write it down and spent yesterday reorganizing notes. And it's going to be bigger, better, a little firmer, more fleshed out. There's going to be more details and different details. There's going to be parts of it that never could have existed in that alternate world where I didn't get sick, because I'm having to work for it. I'm having to exert myself in a way that I didn't before. It sucks that I got sick. It does. I lost a lot. But I haven't lost. There is no victory without risk. And if you know risk, now you know victory. If you have to work harder for something to get to the same point, you haven't gotten to the same point, because you might be reaching the same goal, but you're better. Little hard work never killed anybody. Lots of hard work, well, there's a reason that we have John Henry as a folk hero. There's a lot of hard work, yeah. I get to explore my own world. It's my job. I can't be upset with that or displeased one bit. I can be frustrated with it because it's frustrating going back through stuff in my own head that I feel like I should already have. But when I finish something and I lay it out in front of me and I have a look at it and it is something deeper and more meaningful, more fleshed out, more detailed, more explored than it was before, that's a good path to be on. Not just my patrons help me with this, although they're helping me out a lot. I have people who contact me on Facebook and through RPG Now to let me know what they think of my products. And every little bit of question and exploration and looking into the dark shadows and the corners helps me remember and generate anew what is in all of those dark shadows. And it's fun. It is uplifting, and it is healing. And that's the best kind of exploration. I get to explore here all over again. I get to go into the dark places and find things I've lost. It's better than watching a movie, and it is better than playing a game on the rails. It is like coming home and then building an add-on and throwing a deck on the back and considering a pool. Thank you very much for following me through this particular ramble. I appreciate it a lot. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you did enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you'd like to see these videos as soon as they come out, and why wouldn't you? They're awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the little notification bell so that you're alerted as soon as the videos come out. You have explorations of your own that you would like to share, or explorations you would like to suggest I go on. If there's any other topics you'd like to hear me talk about, or if there's anything I'd like to get off your chest, leave me a comment. I will love getting your comments, and you will love leaving me one. If you'd like to help me out in a little bit more personal way, I invite you to hit me up on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.